What a good morning. I wanted to make a video to continue the conversation that I was having on X and Instagram, and that the posts in particular are up on my YouTube, but I'll put all the links and everything in the description box of this video. Now, the reason why this is important is because I was locked up by the NHS. I was starved, I was tortured, I was isolated, I was kept from friends and family, and I had every aspect of my life controlled because the doctors didn't even know what I was talking about when I was explaining biorhythmic engineering and what I do for a job to help people dealing with the paranormal in order to free them from quote unquote perceived mental illness. And I say perceived because 90% of the mental illnesses that they class as mental illnesses aren't even mental illnesses. And this whole thing with the chatbot BT, people being involuntarily sectioned and stuff, it's what happened to me. But mine was because of drugs. Mine was because they were trying to feed me word magic, through hypnosis and stuff. But I had been saying for the longest time, a lot of us who were called conspiracy theorists have been saying for the longest time that they do this sort of thing. But it wasn't until I went through my ascension that I started being able to develop the science to understand what's us and what isn't. And then because, of course, the whole technology thing came about, and the whole AI digital thing got kind of thrown in on what I was working on, and it became this whole fight to protect the creative mind. Now, Hitler and Pol Pot, when they were going through exterminating people, they went after the intellectuals, the disabled, the mentally ill, and the creatives, the writers and artists and that, because they were all like the critical thinkers. They were people whose minds couldn't be controlled, or they just regarded them as being undesirables. And this whole thing of getting people to crack mentally through VR helmets, through video games, through subliminal messaging and, broadcasting through their phones, through their video games and VR and all of that, making them have these breakdowns, making them go nuts and shoot up schools, making them, go around stabbing kids and that. These are people who should not be acting out for any reason whatsoever, and yet they are. And it's time to address the reason why. And it's because countries like Canada, for example, have very conveniently come in with a law that will allow the government to help children and teenagers commit suicide if they're depressed. And I wish I was making it up, but I'm not. And now Britain's come in with this assisted suicide thing. So if they've got enough people thinking they're crazy, and maybe wanting to kill themselves to shut the noises up, or they have some kind of freak out, because that happened to one of the girls that I was in with, Ruth. Perfectly normal, going about her normal day. She was like, Miss Hippie. She was at one with the universe, and she used to call me Cosmic. And she suddenly freaked out one day when she was at the Air Museum or something, and got dragged away into the loony bin. They had her convinced she was hearing voices and stuff like that, and I knew what was going on, but I couldn't say anything because of where I was. Because every time I opened my mouth, they upped my medication, and I went without food for longer. Because they didn't like the fact that I was talking about stuff they didn't understand. Therefore, it must have been a mental illness. I must have been talking gobbledygook. A lot of the stuff that they diagnosed these chatbot GT, whatever they're called, the AI victims, psychosis, illusions of grandiose, whatever you call it. I got called having a God complex because I gave an anorexic a reason to eat. Now, I am in no way saying that any of that was used on me that night, because I maintain that they did it through their words, because Santero is a licensed hypnotherapist, and it was the way he was talking started changing. Because I'm very observant, you see, I pay attention to everything. Scorpios, we have like a gajillion eyes everywhere, and we exist on vibration and frequency and feel just like a spider does. And when a slight anything changes in the atmosphere for me, I immediately feel it. And then I'm able to hone in on the wheres and the whys and the blah, blah, blah. But it proves my point. Now, the interesting thing is, something happened to me in 2023 that only a couple of people were witness to, that terrified the crap out of me. I was innocently talking to someone I cared about very much, and everything was going great, everything was going wonderful, and then all of a sudden, I was connecting with someone in her life, and then all of a sudden there was just like this explosion of, I was seeing like a million things at once and trying to get it all out, and it was coming across like gobbledygook. And unfortunately, in trying to figure it out, it did reveal something that wasn't great about that person. So I had to make the decision to cut myself off for them anyway. But what happened, the incident that occurred, I immediately went to somebody that I felt safe with, that I trusted, and I just told him everything. I just let it all out, and I was like, this happened, and blah, 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 and I was crying, and I couldn't understand what was going on, and I was so afraid. But then, once I was able to unpick the cotton, so to speak, and weave it in a calmer thread, it led me to things like this article that I've just posted, and people like, because I've maintained from day one about Musk and what he does with me and what he's able to do with his healing towers, and it's all there. And again, go to my description box for all the links that I've just posted, so you know what I'm talking about. And Zuckerberg with Meta and there, anyone who's putting AI across their apps and putting AI into their social media and that, it is it's so they can tell you what to do. It's so they can tell you what to think. And when you talk into them, they can analyze your voice and tell whether you're stressed. They can tell whether you're calm. They can tell whether you're panicking. And then they'll feed you stuff to feed into that fear to make you look crazy. Then they have a reason to medicate you and remove you from society and from the world altogether. Start with the crazies first. Start with the vulnerable ones. But the trouble that they made with me is that, as I keep saying, I can't be hypnotized. Mind control doesn't work on me, because the second I sense something is off, all my alarm systems go on, and I immediately become hypervigilant and pay attention to everything. The body movements, the micro movements of the facial features, the change in voice, the change in language, the change in move, the change in temperature. Like, I immediately, it's like all my systems go up, and I start sifting through all the codes and find the glitches. But that's not what he said. But why did he say that? But as I did this, and and then I'll examine it even more, and I'll go in like a microscope and examine every detail from a microscopic, atomic level. Why? Because I'm a problem solver, and if something doesn't feel right or sound right or look right or is acting right, I need to understand why. And that led me down the path of biorhythmic engineering and my products and the video games that I have designed. And I've had many, many meetings with my sons about it, that are biorhythmically infused to help people, so that when they put the VR helmets on and play our video games, it'll have the opposite effect of what these AI systems and the CIA and Clinton and Zuckerberg and, Musk and all that are trying to do. AI is not the friend of the people, and any country that signs itself up to become reliant on AI have signed themselves up for extinction. The first countries to die out will be the ones that switched over to an AI system. I'm telling you now, they keep talking about the future's going to be all like cars that fly themselves in the air and stuff like that. That's all well and good. But while they're doing that, countries like Russia will be figuring out how to get off planet Earth altogether, which is what we're supposed to be doing. But this article has confirmed everything I've been saying for years. It has also proven scarily that the mental health industry, that the psychiatry industry, the psychology industry were years behind me in my study and the effects of energy and satellite frequencies. Like I did a whole thing about the Black Knight satellite and how it's used to control the satellites that feed your broadband systems and that, so they can mess with the Schuman resonance. Because people keep going on about the Schuman resonance and it's the frequency of Earth and that, but what people don't understand is that the Schuman resonance can be manipulated by man, and it is manipulated by man. Because if it was left to Papatuanuku to just emit her frequency, it would be one of healing, like my ancestors tried to do with the pyramids of Giza. They're supposed to be healing towers. They are the original healing towers, the Dendera light and all that. That was all for the purposes of healing the planet. And Tesla knew that, but he ended up having his technology used to hurt people. And then when he wasn't complying and trying to give away his free energy weapons and that, instead of using it on people like Aileen, Don and Moore and all that to drive people nuts and stuff, he wanted to use it for free energy, and so they killed him and then took it. Donald Trump's uncle took it, and then they used it to do all of this, except Tesla hadn't gotten it all right. He didn't understand it all. He knew there was a connection with the pyramids, but he couldn't figure it out because he didn't have the keys. I have the keys. So his unfinished work, I was able to finish, which is why I've got those posts up on X where I'm talking about shooting myself in the head with my energy weapon. And because they all made the mistake of thinking the energy has to be contained within like minerals and metal and stuff. But that's not how energy works. Energy is supposed to be free flowing. It's supposed to be, energy is evolutionary, and it will go as far as it needs to travel until it disperses and breakdowns and becomes the negative and negative and positive ion particles in the atmosphere that make up that Schumann resonance. So it can be easily manipulated. But when you come to my retreat, when you come to stay with me at my place in Moscow, it'll be the place where you get deprogrammed, where there will be none of that, because Russia is one of the only countries that is going to maintain its traditional standards of not poisoning the soil and not poisoning the skies, and creating jobs and creating good, healthy, wholesome foods like bread and meat and dairy and, innocent, sweet little candies and cakes and stuff that are, especially in my establishments, that are going to help heal your body. And because that they, how they are with their social media and stuff, it's a good thing, because then they can't get in your head that way. But when you come to my establishment, you'll be able to just put all of that down for as long as you're sane, and just like ground yourself in the roots of Russia's beautiful, fertile, organic soil and grow from it so many wonderful creative things and heal while you're doing it, because you'll be deprogrammed while you're there. And then when you put on our VR helmet, and you're playing our video games and stuff, it'll do the same thing. And by the time you finish playing our video game or using my dating app, you would have healed yourself from traumas that you didn't even know your ancestors had put on you in this life to deal with. and then paranormal activity will cease, and the voices in your head will go away, because they'll no longer have power over you. Because I'm going to teach your mind how to take back control of how it thinks and how it feels, because that's all the psychiatry and psychology industry is. They're a part of a tax-funded or government-funded organisation paid to tell you how to feel. And if they think that what you think and what you feel doesn't line with what's in their textbooks, then it has to be a mental illness and you need to be studied, and here's some medication for it. But nobody has the right to tell you how to feel. Nobody has the right to tell you what to think and tell you how to feel. And what I mean by tell you what to think is, people can be wrong and you can tell them they're wrong. But telling you what to think, like you're a bad person, you're a whore, you're a this, you're a that. If you know what people are telling you about yourself or the situation that you know to be true is wrong, then they're telling you what to think, and they're trying to bend your will. They're bending matter by trying to bend your will to see in their favour, even though your gut will be telling you they're wrong. I know I'm telling the truth. I know what I saw. Because one of the ways that mind control works the best is when you know you said something, you know you saw something, you know it happened, and people, no, it didn't. No, you're wrong. No, it didn't. No, it didn't happen that way. What I said was, and you're like, no, that's not what happened. And you know, but then they'll just beat you down and you'll be like, whatever, I don't care. Like they've won. When you know the truth and people try to tell you that your truth is wrong, regardless of whether it's a truth about yourself or something you witnessed or anything you're experiencing, and people try to tell you that your truth is wrong, that's mind control. And I'm talking about your truth because people can believe facts to be real and they be wrong. But I'm talking about your truth, like you know you saw her kiss him. You know you saw that sentence in the email before it vanished. Like you know what you saw. You know what you think. You know who you are. And when you know what you want. And when people try and change your mind, that's mind control. And in its minimalist form. And then you've got people like Santaro that have people convinced that she's predicting the future, when a lot of the time she's actually trying to will an outcome into existence by setting her and Chris do it. They make out like something's already happened, and then they manipulate the situation to make it happen, and then they can say, look, we knew it was going to happen, but they made it happen. You know, they set the stage for it and then made it look like it was life, when in actual fact it was just performance theatre. That's another form of mind control. And then, of course, you know, through your phones, through the internet and stuff. But when you come to me, when you play my games, when you watch my movies, when you eat my food, it is going to plug you in with roots so deep into this planet, you will feel it at her molten core, which is the fire in her belly. The molten core of Papatuanuku is that fire in her belly, her mana. It gives her her strength. It keeps her providing sustenance for all her children on planet Earth, which are the animals and the fish and the insects and the plants and the apes and the idiots like us. It's the molten core of my grandmother is like her heartstone. And the same people that are trying to control our mind are the same people that are trying to convince us that climate change is real and that we need to do the net zero thing this whole time, killing the core of our grandmother. And when the planet's dead, we're all dead, which is why the smart ones will get off the planet while the others are turning their countries into AI systems. They will be the first to go extinct, I am telling you now. They can have as many hidden cities in there under the earth as they want, but when there's no more humans left, because the smart ones built rockets instead of robot cities, and went off to join the council and stuff, um, it'll be like Wally. So yeah. So long story short, I was right about everything. And everything that they tried to say was mental illness in me was simply for the fact that these doctors hadn't caught up with my scientific study yet. It is a scary, scary situation this world is living in when medically trained psychiatrists and psychologists and mental health nurses didn't even know who Carl Jung was, for a start, didn't even know that anaphylactic shock doesn't always result in death, that you can go into anaphylaxis many times a day and it doesn't kill you, because there's many varying levels of anaphylaxis. They also didn't know anything about the Schuman resonance, that it can be fatal and that it can be manipulated over the radio waves and airwaves. They just all assumed that I was psychotic and nuts. And it turns out I was right about everything. And now I've built an empire off it. And when I get my lawsuit money because of what they did to me, because they hadn't caught up with science, because, shrinks aren't, psychiatry, it's not even a science. It's not even recognised as a science. What I do is recognised as a science. Quantum entanglement, it's all physics. Biorhythmic engineering and all that, it's all physics, isn't it? Mine is a science, theirs isn't a science, and my science knew more than their medicine, quote unquote. But because they hadn't caught up yet, they decided that I was nuts. So let's poison her and starve her. But now the money that they're all going to pay for all of that, for what I was put through the insults that my ancestors had hurled at them through medical professionals and billionaires and presidents and prime ministers who thought they knew better than a uneducated, barefoot Indigenous woman. I'm going to take that money. I'm going to go to Russia, where they are still one of the only countries left on the planet that actually cares about the future for the next generation, where they want their next generation to grow up to be healthy and strong without their minds and their bodies being fed poison. And so they are the country that is worthy of all my investment. And then I can get these kids that countries like Canada want to kill because they're depressed and stuff, because they're purposefully making them depressed and messing with their heads on purpose through their technology, and they're on purpose so that they have an excuse to help them kill themselves. Then I can take those kids and program them, and when they go back, the government will have no one to pick on. But the only place where I trust that to happen is Russia, because at least Vladimir Putin cares about the children. He's risked everything. He has risked everything, including his reputation, 1,000 times over. Still standing in his truth that he is determined to build a better Russia for the children, and it's all based on morals and ethics and traditions and traditional values and traditional ways, and embracing ancestry and history and the animals and all of that, which is a beautiful way to do it. It's natural. He's like Father Earth. I'm like Mother Nature and he's Father Earth. And that's why God will always have his back. That's why I will always have his back. He will get every penny. He will get every ounce of everything I'm creating. My products will be created there. My products will be made there. My businesses will start there. They will blossom there. My space program will be given to Russia. They will get it all because they are the way of the future. And they're leaving everybody else in the past, I'm afraid. It's just, I think that France, when Marine Le Pen, when Macron goes, and that is coming, I think she's gonna join Russia. She's gonna know that France has to go that way too, and she'll put France in the right direction as well. So I do think we will save France, which is why I think St. Joan of Arc got involved in my dreams in those codes, because I think she knew that France was going to be saved. She features heavily in those codes and in my dreams. So it might look like I'm standing by myself, and it might look like everybody who did this to me has got the backing of, the strongest, most important people in the world behind them. But my backing's invisible, and they're all gods and demigods and deities and angels and archangels and ancestors and saints. And, ha ha ha, that sounds crazy, blah, blah, blah. But my evidence speaks for itself. What about you? Because I'm a scientist, I document everything. I can prove it. I can prove it to the point now where I've got presidents in that believing me over the people that accused me. I've got people believing me because evidence speaks for itself. The truth can't lie. So, people, you need to be careful about your using your AIs and your Grokks and your whatever they're called, because they're gathering a lot more information than you realise, and then it's being fed straight back into you. But when I come along with my radio station and all the products, anything that goes out across the airways, the broadband, apps, anything like that, you have my 100% guarantee that everything we put out is biorythmically infused to help deprogram you and ground you and earth you and pull you back down to earth and make you feel like a kid again. Because when you walk through my gates, and no doubt Russia, especially by the time I'm done with it, you're going to feel like you're coming home. And there's no place like home. There's no safer place for a child to be than home, even if you're 90. So, yeah, there's no place like home. And that's going to be the Royal Oak Tree Inn and Russia, because that's going to be home for me if I'm allowed. If he doesn't let me in, I'm staging a coup. Keep threatening with my coup. Anyway, so yeah, I'll put links in the description box below. Otherwise, it's all there on my Instagram. It's all the last stuff I posted before this video. But I will put it all on the thing below. So just have your wits about you, please, and make better choices with how you choose to interact with your phone and the internet and social media. Be a bit more discerning. And my broadband company, because I'm going to have produce my own like broadband and stuff for my businesses and my customers and my staff. You will have my one, like, it will be written in the contract that we're not going to keep any of your information. We're not going to keep any of we're not going to sell any of your data. Like, your confidentiality is 100% guaranteed with us, as well, like your identity will remain anonymous unless it's court ordered. We will have no interest in looking up anything that you're doing. We'll keep a backup of everything that you do, but we won't share any of your information or your image or like nothing like that. And the only reason why we'll keep a backup but not pay attention is if, like, because some of these morons commit murders and over social media and that, and delete messages and stuff. But there always needs to be a backup just in case. It's better to have the backup there just in case than to not have it there, and it critical information that could have solved an innocent person's murder has been deleted. At least it's there, but it will never be accessed. unless it's like court ordered, and that will be the promise. Right, my lovely, so I'm going to go and finish my breakfast, and I'll speak to you later. Hold your head up high. We're going to get through this. We're going to fight the darkness. Together we can get rid of the darkness. We'll get rid of all these tyrannical rulers and that once and for all. We just have to come back down to earth and ground ourselves, and not get so attached to the digital system, because then they can't get in your head. Then they don't have access to you, and then you'll be grounded enough to be able to say, right, let's gather and go and protest and demand a general election and get these people out of government. So I need to get justice for myself. It's like done Alpha to Omega, eh? The beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. It's like where I started with all of this has now come back to right where it ended, with like a perfect completion. So I'll get my money, I'll get justice, I'll get my kids, and I'll get out of here. I will get set up. I will start. I've already like got a plan in my head of what I need to do the second I land in Moscow. Who I need to get in touch with, who I need to employ, what I want to get started first, all of it. It's all there ready to go. I'm just waiting to get the green light from the courts, grab my kids, grab my money, I'm out. I've even said as well that before I sign any legal documents, I want it in the legal documents that my name gets wiped from any mention of any kind of mental health, anything, my medical records, all of it. I want my name cleared and wiped off police records, off social services, off the place I rent my place with, all of it. If it says that I was locked up for all that nonsense, I want it wiped by law. NHS records, everything completely wiped, not even a copy kept, so that my name is restored to its pristine conditions. Thank you very much. And the other thing I want is that I want just enough money to be able to get me and the boys over to a hotel in Moscow to get us all moved and shipped in a place, so that I can open up a Russian bank account, and then they can put the money from the lawsuit into my Russian bank account, because I don't want Keir Starmer having any access to my money if he's still Prime Minister by the time I leave the United Kingdom. In which case that means I'm being removed in time for Great Britain to burn to the ground. Like the end of the monarchy and all that. Because my teacher always said that I would always leave a country just before it was about to collapse. She said I'd always be removed. Because we all knew that this was coming. So, you know, in our society, we all knew it was coming. So, yeah, she said that any country that you're sent to, any country that God sends you to, you'll stay there long enough. But if you suddenly find yourself being pulled from that country, it's because you were being removed before the country collapsed. Because she said you will never be allowed to live anywhere that is unsafe. So all roads lead to Russia. So I'm going to have my toast now. My scars are pulling on me. I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. I've still got a week and a half before I get paid, so let's pray for a miracle. And I will speak to you later. Hold your head up high, know you are loved, and we're going to get you through this together. We are all going to help each other out, and then we're all going to stand up together and fight back, aren't we? Yes, Miss Debbie. Good. Right. Let's get this party started, guys. I've got your backs, and we're gonna get through this together. Hold your head up high. Know you are loved. Have a beautiful weekend. Be safe, and know that I love you. Ka kite ano. Mwah.